Hi friends, this is Mrs. Hamlet and I am going to read you the true story of the Three Little Pigs. Now remember, this is a fractured story, so it's not really what happened, but it's the same story about the Three Little Pigs, but it's told now from the wolf's perspective. So this is the real story and it's by the wolf. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible cold at the time, and I ran out of sugar. Okay, there's the wolf making a cake for his granny, and he's coughing and sneezing. Would you want to eat that cake? I wouldn't. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too smart sometimes. He had built his house out of straw. Can you believe that? I mean, who in their right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in?" No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old Grammy's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. This is the wolf's nose, and it's getting ready to sneeze. And I sneezed, a great big sneeze. And what do you think's going to have happen to the house, friends? You know what? The whole house fell down. Right in the middle of that pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it. I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear Granny's birthday cake. So I went to my next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the little pig's big brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I said, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And he yelled back, "Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed. I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. That's the pig right in the middle of the stick house. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Okay, so the wolf is pretending, well, the wolf is saying, I'm telling the story. It's all true. Now, you know good food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do, and I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting very full by now, and my cold was feeling a little bit better. But I still didn't have a cup of sugar for my dear old Granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's biggest brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he had built his house out of brick. There's his brick house, and here's the wolf feeling very full. So I knocked on the brick house, and there was no answer. And I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little pig said to me? He said, "Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar. And he wouldn't even give me one little cup for my dear sweet old Granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home, and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a birthday cake when I felt my cold coming on again. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. And the third little pig yelled out, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fella, but when somebody talked about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down this pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing. And it was a real scene. The cops are pig cops. These are all the cops here, and we got some reporters showing up with their microphones. Well, and as they say, the rest is history, because here he is, he's in the newspaper, and it says, A.T. Wolf, big and bad. Now, the news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy, because I had my cold, going to borrow a cup of sugar was not very exciting news. So they jazzed up the story with all that huffing and puffing and blowing houses down, and they made me into a big bad wolf. And that's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But could you maybe lend me a cup of sugar? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this book, and it'll be back in our classroom when we see you again. We miss you. Bye.